Hello everyone, happy Wednesday and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a great day. So somebody left a comment, I think her name is Lou. I will put her comment on the screen right here. And she suggested that I do a video where I compare all of the platforms that I have sold on, and I thought that was a great idea. So that's what we're doing today. It's a little disclaimer, these are all my personal opinions. These opinions have been formed through my personal experience. I know there's probably a lot more pros and definitely a lot more cons to these platforms that I have just not experienced. You know, everybody knows a lot of people have had complaints about eBay, and a lot of those things I haven't personally experienced. So I'm not going to be touching on those things. I'm just going to be giving you guys my thoughts, my opinions. These are not facts. They are not set in stone. Moses himself did not chisel them into the tablets. So nobody get their panties in a twist. So I have my list right here of all the pros and cons of all the platforms I have sold on. And yeah, let's just get started. All right, so first off is eBay. Now, I know, like I said, there's a lot of controversy around eBay. A lot of people hate eBay. A lot of people love eBay. So this is my experience. Should we start with pros or should we start with cons? Let's start with cons. We'll end on a good note. Okay, so the cons to eBay are their return policy. So even if you don't accept returns can still happen. I don't understand that. I don't get that. It is what it is. I don't like that a customer has so long to return an item. I think it's 60 days, 90 days. Somebody let me know down in the comments below what it is, but I think it's like 60 or 90 days. It's an extreme amount of time that people are allowed to open returns, and I think that's a bit ridiculous. Like that shouldn't be. I don't like that when I sell an item, especially for me, I sell a lot of higher end pieces on eBay, so you know the profit is a lot bigger. I don't want to like have to sit around for 3 months worrying if somebody's going to return it. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge fan of the way that they take their commission either. So the way they take commission is they add the charge to your account. They don't take it out immediately from your earnings. They charge it to your account, and then at the end of the month, you settle your debts, and you pay all the commission that you owe eBay. Or you can do it like I like to do it just to stay on top of it. I do one-time payments. So every time I make a sale, I go ahead and pay my commission so that I don't have to worry about it at the end of the month. But I don't like that added step. I wish they would just take their money so I don't have to worry about it. That I don't like. So let's move on to pros. Obviously, eBay has been around for a long time. It's one of, the oldest selling platforms. So there's a large audience. There's a lot of eyes on your item. So that is a pro in my opinion. I like their rating system. I like that buyers get a rating as well as sellers. So it's nice to know if you're getting a good buyer or not. And it's nice to have your mind put at ease that, okay, this person's not going to return something in 90 days. You know what I mean? So having that buyer rating is nice. It's just a nice reference to have. I like that you get paid instantly. So with eBay, you get paid through PayPal. That goes immediately into your PayPal. You don't have to wait on your money. I like that. Love that. This last point on eBay is something that could be considered a pro, could be considered a con. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. Yes, eBay fees are lower. I think it's 10%. I could be wrong. But you have to factor in PayPal fees. So yes, the eBay fee is lower, but you also have PayPal fees, which I think end up being also 10%. So really it evens out to about 20%. So, it could be a pro, could be a con. Yes, it's lower, but you also have to do PayPal fees. So, meh. Okay, let's move on to Poshmark. I'm not going to lie to you, and you guys probably already know this. Poshmark is one of my favorite selling platforms, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, let's get to the cons. The cons for Poshmark: the rating system could use a little work. You can't rate buyers, only the sellers get rated, which I think, you guys know my opinion on that. I think sellers should be able to rate their buyers as well. And I don't like that People can just rate you 1 star and they don't have to leave a reason why. Also, the reasons that Poshmark, like the categories of reasons that they give to customers it's very vague. It's very like, oh, just like packaging, shipping time, it's very vague. I think if somebody leaves less than 5 stars, they should have to leave a comment and tell you the reason why, specifically why they're giving you a low rating, if that makes sense. I think it should be mandatory to leave a comment if you are rating lower than 5 stars. Also, some of you may not know this, especially if you're newer to Poshmark, but only 5-star reviews with comments show up on your platform, on your page. So as a buyer, if I am going to a seller's page and I want to check out their reviews just to make sure, that I'm going to get what they're telling me I'm going to get, just to build that trust, I can only see their 5-star ratings with love notes if the person left a comment with their review. I can't see 4 stars, 3 stars, 2, 1, can't see any of those. So if they do have a lot of bad reviews, I can't see them. So yes, that's good for the seller because you don't really have to worry if somebody rates you unfairly with a low review. But it's also not great for the buyer because if somebody does have a lot of negative reviews, they can't see them. They can only see the positive ones. So, it's problematic. I'm just saying. It's problematic and it needs to be fixed. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's move on. I don't love that they don't have a customer service line, a phone, a hotline bling. I need someone to call. I don't like Poshmark's customer service. I've had mixed experiences with Poshmark customer service. So I have had experiences where they got back to me almost immediately through email and fix the problem right away. I've also had an experience where they didn't get to me right away. It was a whole problem with my account, and it was frustrating to have to wait like 2 and 3 days for somebody to email me back and forth. That is just inconvenient, and certain things need to be fixed immediately. Or, within 24 hours would be helpful. But to have to email back and forth, and then you have to wait for them to email you back, it's too much. They really need a quicker system. Even if it's just like an instant message thing, like on some websites, you can chat with a customer representative right then and there. They don't even need like a phone line. If they just had that would be helpful. But it's just very frustrating to have to wait that long to hear back. And also you don't know who you're going to get. It depends. Some people are very, very, very helpful and knowledgeable, and others are not so much. So that's another con for Poshmark. My last con for Poshmark is the sharing. Now, this isn't a super big deal, but it is nice on other platforms to just be able to list an item and that's it. That's all the work you got to put into it. I feel like I could be doing a lot more with my time than sharing my closet constantly. It's not really a con. It's just more of like an inconvenience. It's more of like I don't really love it, but I gotta do it. I'm gonna suck it up, buttercup. You know what I mean? All right, so the pros to Poshmark, the things that keep me sticking around, the things that have me spoiled so much I will never leave. Number 1 is how easy it is to use. Like, it's so user-friendly. It's just easy to use. Number 2, shipping. Again, easy, so easy. It's just, you don't have to worry about it at all. I love just being able to slap a label on a box and get it out my door. I don't have to weigh it. I don't have to see whose prices are better for shipping labels, and it's just so easy. And honestly, the shipping is the biggest pro for me. That's what keeps me coming back. That's what keeps me staying tried and true to Poshmark, is that shipping. It is so good. I am so spoiled, and I don't care. I'm spoiled. We're all spoiled. We're spoiled brats. The returns. In my experience, the return policy has been very fair. I've only had a couple of people try to return things. And the case has always been usually has been in my favor, in my experience. I know that's not everyone's experience, but in my personal experience, it's been very fair. They either gave my money back or gave both of us our money. So I think Poshmark does very well with returns. I haven't had an issue with returns, in my opinion. Don't come for me. I know some people have had very bad experiences, but my experience, 10 out of 10. Okay, so the customers overall are nice. I have had very pleasant experiences with customers. I've only had a few nasty ones, but overall, the customers are super nice. Commission. I love the way Poshmark takes commission. I love that they break it down while you're listing. So from the get-go, you know exactly what you're going to make if you list it for that price. I love that. I love that it's broken down so they just spell it out for you. It's so nice. I don't have to think about it. So good. Thank you, Poshmark, for that. Obviously, their commission is 20%, but like I said, on other platforms, you have to factor in PayPal, so it ends up being 20% anyways. So, whatever. I would rather it be taken care of and just be 20% flat off the top than me have to break it down and then it's still 20% anyways. So let's move on to Mercari. You guys know I've had a little issue with Mercari in the past. It's not my favorite platform. I do have some nice things to say, so don't worry. It's not a bad platform, just not my favorite. So the cons are listing. I feel like their listing process is very vague, very basic. It's almost too basic. What I mean by that is their categories, like women's pants or women's jeans. They don't have enough like subcategories. They don't have enough like regular categories, in my opinion. It's very hard to categorize your items on Mercari because they just simply don't have enough categories. So to me, that makes it very hard, and that's kind of a deterrent for me. Unless it's just a simple item like a t-shirt, I rarely list on Mercari because of that, because there's not enough categories. It's very hard to, and they make you pick one. So I'm not going to list it as something that it's not because I don't want to return. It's just it makes me very iffy about listing on there. Also, their conditions categories are very vague and very contradicting. So I think they have a new with tags category, a like new, good, fair, and poor, I believe. I could be wrong on those last ones. But this is where it gets me. So their like new category is described as like new. It's never been worn, never been washed. It just doesn't have the tags. Okay, cool. But then it immediately goes to good. And the good category is described as something that's in good condition but has a minor flaw. Okay, here's my issue with that. There's no in between. Most of my items are not like new. They have been worn before, they have been washed before, but they don't have any flaws. They're in great condition. We need a great category, Mercari. There is no in between, and I don't like that. And you're forced to pick one. So I wish they would either make an in between category or just do away with the categories, because it makes it very complicated. And again, I don't want to mislead a customer. So a lot of times I stay away from Mercari unless it's a basic item and it's new with tags. That's all I list on Mercari. I'm just being honest. I'm not a huge fan of their listing shebang. And my second con is their customer service. This is where I had an issue specifically. So just a little mini story. Mercari has badges. And what that means is it's like a quick responder badge, a quick shipper badge. You have like different badges that you earn as you grow on the platform, basically. It's almost like becoming a Poshmark ambassador. You just get all the badges. It's like being in the Girl Scouts, and there's one badge that is a reliable badge. So this is what happened. I had a girl purchased one of my items without reading the description. Then she came back about 2 hours later and said, oh my goodness, didn't read the description. I don't think this is going to fit. Can I cancel the order? Sure. She cancels the order. Somehow, her reliable badge stayed intact, but mine was taken away. Even though it wasn't my fault, she most definitely, it was completely on her. She did not read the description. Everything, measurements, everything was in the description. There's nothing I could have done, and she canceled the order. So there's no possible way that this is my fault. Why is my reliable badge taken away? Excuse me. So I typed to customer service. I don't think have a customer service line either. You have to email them. So I email them. I tell them what happened. And the customer service representative's response to me was, oh, don't worry, you'll get it back in no time. Excuse me? So not only did they not even acknowledge what just happened, they didn't give me a solution. He just said, oh, they're there. A little pat on the back. It'll be fine. They're there. You'll get it back in no time. And I was like, and you know what? In Mercari's defense, it may have just been the representative that I got. But at the same time, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. I let them know. Trust me. Mama let them know. I said, this is not good customer service. I'm mad. Me woman, hear me roar. I was very upset. I deleted Mercari for a while. I got back on Mercari. Haven't really used it a whole lot. It is what it is. Now, I do have some pros for Mercari. Customers, overall, nice. I haven't had an issue. Their shipping is kind of in between, kind of like those. It's a pro, it's a con. There is a learning curve if you come from Poshmark and you're used to shipping being taken care of for you. Does that make sense? Maybe. I choose to do my own shipping on Mercari and sites like Mercari because, like I said in last week's Depop video, if you have an item that's on the lower end, like say the category is 5 to 10 pounds, and you have an item that's 5 pounds, they're charging you for 10 pounds. Does that make sense? So you're overpaying for shipping when you don't have to, or your customer is, depending on what you offer shipping wise. So I choose to do my own shipping. It's not a big deal. It's just a learning curve. So it's I'm going to put that in the middle. Another pro would be the rating system. You get to rate both buyer and seller. I like that. And other than the categories issue in the listing process is pretty simple and it's, very much like any other platform. So Mercari, it's just okay. So moving on to Etsy. As you guys know, I was selling vintage home decor on Etsy, and I haven't really been listing on Etsy, and I'm going to tell you why. And first con is the biggest reason why I don't list on Etsy anymore. So they charge you 20 cents just to list an item. They charge you a listing fee. Now, I know that eBay also charges after a certain amount. But they give you 100 listings a month, I believe, for free. So that's nice. That's an incentive. I don't list a whole lot on eBay, so I've never had to pay to list an item on eBay. But on Etsy, it doesn't matter how many listings you put up, you are charged 20 cents per listing that you list. And that adds up. If you list 100 items in a month, that's $20. That's a lot, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just being cheap, but to me, that's a bit ridiculous. And there's no guarantee that it's going to sell. If you're like me and you cross-list onto eBay, you cross-list onto Poshmark, a lot of times those items will sell on Poshmark and not sell on Etsy, and so then I'm just out that money. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just being cheap, but that's a huge turnoff for me. Another thing with Etsy is it takes a lot of work, especially on the marketing end. You have to be, Etsy is a very complicated. Their algorithm is just very complicated. Their whole website is complicated for some reason. Don't know why. It could be so much easier. And like I said, again, maybe I'm just spoiled by Poshmark, but it takes a lot of marketing. It takes a lot of knowledge about how Google search works. It's just a whole shebang, and a lot of people don't have that kind of knowledge, especially if you're just, you know, a casual seller or have been selling on other platforms. And the last con is it's very hard to get started. It's very hard to gain momentum on Etsy. Again, you have to put a lot of marketing effort into Etsy. And unless you have a following on social media, it is hard to get started on Etsy. Because there are so many sellers. You know, you're just a little fish in a big pond, and it's difficult. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Etsy is a difficult ass platform. With that being said, there are some pros, so let's get to them. Yes, there's a lot of sellers, but that also means there's a lot of users. Etsy has one of the biggest platforms in the selling world. So it's a large audience. There's a lot of eyes on your item. So that is nice and helpful. Again, it could be considered a con because, like I said, little fish, big pond. Take it as you will. In my experience, people are willing to pay a lot more on Etsy. When people think of Etsy, they automatically think like fancy, like they're about to pay a lot of money. People are willing to pay a lot more for stuff on Etsy, especially vintage stuff. Vintage stuff tends to go for a lot more on Etsy. So that's a big pro if you can put up with all the other cons. And lastly, shipping. Again, there's a huge learning curve. If you're used to having shipping done for you with shipping on Etsy, you have to calculate your own shipping. There is no option for a flat rate. There is a huge learning curve if you're not used to doing that. You have to be very careful with that. Make sure you're charging the right amount and make sure, you know, you're not getting screwed because of shipping. So that could be considered a pro or a con depending on your perspective. Now we have Depop. Depop, as you guys know, I have been selling a lot on Depop lately, and I'm actually really enjoying it. At first, I was a little iffy about it, and obviously, you know, I do have some cons, but I do have a lot of pros. So let's get started with that. The cons would be the customers tend to be very young. It's a lot younger demographic because of the style. It's very streetwear, it's very trendy, it's very hip, it's young. I would say the average age on Depop is late teens to mid 20s. There's exceptions. I'm sure there's some people older than that, but the main demographic seems to be late teens to mid 20s. With that comes, how do I say this nicely? With that comes a little bit of immaturity. We as adults are used to handling situations in a very professional sort of way. Customers, sometimes, this is not all the time, I've had very good customers on Depop, but I have had a couple handle things not the most mature way. They're quicker to get an attitude, if you know what I mean. But like I said, the good customers far outweigh the bad ones, but just so you know, that is something that could happen because customers are younger. Take that and do with it what you will. One thing I don't like about Depop is their policies are not very clear. I know that, you know, you can go in their FAQs, you can learn all about Depop, you can Google it, like Depop return policy, blah, blah, blah. And I'll put that on the screen right here if you want to pause the video and take a look at that. It's just not very clear. It's very vague. They say that they offer buyer protection, which is nice if you're buying from Depop, but they don't really specify, you know, the specifics. I need more detail, Depop. I don't even really know who to call. I don't think they have a customer service like hotline. I think, again, it's just an email thing. I could be wrong. It's just very unclear. I haven't had anyone return anything or try to return anything on Depop, so I don't really know how that goes or how to go about it even. My best guess for me personally, if somebody tried to return something, I would probably go through PayPal. Because PayPal, you know, has buyer and seller protection, and I just trust PayPal a little bit more with that situation, so I would probably go through them. But yeah, it's just not very clear, and it would be nice to know what's up. And the last con is they only give you 4 photos. I think that's a bit ridiculous. How am I supposed to capture something in only 4 photos? Again, we're spoiled with Poshmark. They give you 8 photos. Somebody was saying in my Depop video last week that you could make collages, which is a great idea, especially if you need to show flaws. I do that if an item has more than one flaw. I will put it in a collage and then so it's in one photo. That's a kind of a loophole to get around that. But it's just one extra step, and it would be nice to have the option of more photos. So let's get into the pros. The pros would be, it's a very creative atmosphere. I like the atmosphere of Depop. It's very creative. People model their stuff. It's very like funky streetwear style. It's very trendy. It's very vintage, and I enjoy the atmosphere and the creativity that comes with it. Their listing process is very easy, very straightforward. Just like on Poshmark, super, super easy to list. Again, with the creativity, I will say it's my favorite platform style-wise. I love the items that are sold on Depop. Another huge thing for me is it goes through PayPal, so you get paid instantly, which is like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, I can eat today. You know what I mean? I love being paid instantly. That's one of the biggest things that like draws me to platforms like that, is being able to get your money instantly. Again, with the rating system is the seller gets rated, the buyer gets rated. I love that. I think that's great. And the last thing could be considered a pro, could be considered a con. They only take 10% commission, but you have to factor in PayPal commission as well. So again, pro and con, it is what it is. Not a huge deal. Now, I do want to mention 2 other platforms. They're not really selling platforms per se, so these are just going to be my honorable mentions. Instagram and Facebook. So we'll start with Facebook since they have a dedicated marketplace. So Facebook Marketplace, I know, is scary to a lot of people. I've heard a lot of horror stories. In my opinion, it's fine. It's not gonna make you tons of money. It's something you can use to sell items around your house if you have, larger things that you can't ship, like nightstands or bookshelves or something like that. I think Facebook Marketplace is great. It's even great to go and buy a cheap something if you come across it. I wouldn't go out seeking stuff for Facebook Marketplace specifically, but if you come across something that you can't fit in your own home, but it's a great price and it's worth a lot more, Facebook Marketplace can be a great tool for things like that, especially like furniture. I know a lot of people have had issue with people not showing up, people just being weird. You're meeting strangers on the internet in person to give them an item and take their money. So it can be weird sometimes. In my personal experience, I always message them right before we're about to meet and make sure that they are still meeting me. That has saved me a lot, I think. And they've always shown up. I know you can take Venmo. I personally just do cash. The only time I've ever had an issue was with this guy. I was selling him a nightstand. He set a time, we set a place, and then when the time came, I said, are we still good to meet at this time, this place? And he said, yeah, no problem. I get there and he texts me, or he messages me and says, can we meet at this place instead? It's a little closer to me. So that kind of made me a little mad. I had to drive a little farther. Not too far. It was like right down the street, but it was still annoying. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I get there and this guy shows up 15 minutes later, like 15 minutes late. And that kind of made me mad. He was a little sketchy as well. But that's why you always meet in public parking lots. Meet in public in the daylight. I know some people they'll like put the item on their front porch and tell them to put the money under like the doormat. I'm not super comfortable with that. If you are, good for you. My prayers are with you. Please don't die. I do not recommend that. I recommend meeting someone in a parking lot, in an open public area, a small parking lot, so it's easy to find them. Just be safe. Be safe with Facebook Marketplace. Please. I do not need you on the 10 o'clock news. Okay, so last but not least is Instagram. Instagram is good if you already have a social media following, you already have customers following you on Instagram, or in my case on YouTube. Sometimes you guys will let me know down in the comments if you want something, and then you'll direct message me on Instagram and we work out a deal that way. The way people do Instagram sales is through PayPal. So what happens is, say one of you guys leaves me a comment and says, oh, I want that t-shirt. And I'll say, okay, message me on Instagram. You message me on Instagram. I give you a price and any more details that you may need. And then we come to an agreement on a price, and you send me your PayPal email. I will send you an invoice through PayPal. I can get more into selling through PayPal, like the details and how to do it. If you guys want that, let me know down in the comments below, and I will do a video about how to sell through PayPal. Basically, you just send the person a PayPal invoice and they pay, you get the money instantly, you ship using PayPal. There's a button where you can click to print a shipping label, and you do have to figure out your own shipping, but again, it's not a huge deal if you sell on any platform other than Poshmark, and you send it to them, and that's it. It's pretty easy. There's like a trust factor. Obviously, you guys, you know, people aren't just gonna blindly buy something through Instagram from someone they don't trust. The good thing about selling through PayPal is there is buyer protection. So if you were to buy something from someone on Instagram through PayPal and it's not what they said it was, you can open a case through PayPal. PayPal has very good customer service, especially when it comes to buyers. So that's that. It's a good honorable mention. And those are all my thoughts and feelings and opinions about these platforms. I hope you guys learned something. I hope it, you know, inspired you to sell on another platform. I hope it helped in your decision making, whether you wanted to sell on a platform or not. Again, these are just my thoughts and opinions. Always do your own research and decide what's best for you. Some platforms are better for others than others. What am I talking about? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure and give it a thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join our family. We would love to have you. I put new videos out every Wednesday and Friday, and I will see you guys on Friday. Bye, guys.